Hello folks, ever feel like your life is a never-ending treadmill of hard work? Let's talk about the daily grind. Now, when we say grind, what comes to mind? A coffee grinder perhaps? It's not too far off actually. Think about it. We're all like coffee beans in the grand scheme of things. Every day we're put through the grinder of life, turning us from whole beans into fine grounds. And what's the result? A rich, aromatic cup of coffee. That's right, the fruits of our labor, the results of our hard work. Just like how a barista crafts the perfect brew from ground beans, we too create something worthwhile from our daily grind. But here's the catch: balance. Yes, grinding is necessary, but so is knowing when to stop. Just as overgrinding coffee beans can lead to a bitter taste, overworking ourselves can lead to burnout. It's about finding that sweet spot, that perfect balance between work and rest. So, are you a coffee bean being ground down or the barista making the perfect brew? Now let's dive into the grindstone of life. No, not the one in your grandpa's barn. I'm talking about the grindstone that shapes us, molds us, sometimes wears us down, but ultimately polishes us into something better. You see, the grind isn't just about work, it's about personal growth. It's about taking that raw, uncut diamond of your potential and grinding it down into something that sparkles. It's about challenging yourself, pushing yourself, and sometimes, yes, grinding yourself down to your very core. But here's the thing about grinding: it's not just about the wear and tear, it's about what you're becoming. Take for instance the story of Old Man Jenkins, a man who was just trying to sharpen his knife on a grindstone. Day in and day out, he'd be there, grinding away. One day, he noticed something shiny in the pile of dust. Turns out, he'd been grinding a chunk of coal along with his knife. And what do you get when you put pressure and time on coal? That's right, a diamond. So Old Man Jenkins, in his quest to sharpen his knife, accidentally ended up creating a diamond. Now that's what I call a grinding success story, or consider the tale of Susie the baker. She started out just grinding wheat into flour, making bread for her family, but she loved it so much she put in more and more hours, grinding away, perfecting her recipe. And now, she runs a successful bakery, and her bread is the talk of the town. That's the magic of the grind. It can turn wheat into bread, coal into diamonds, and dreams into reality. So remember folks, every time you grind, you're not just working hard. You're also creating something beautiful, or at least something very, very shiny. Alright, time to shift gears, and by that I mean literally grinding gears. You see, life is a lot like an old manual transmission car. It's not always smooth, and sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you're frantically trying to shift from second to third, and instead, your car decides it's a submarine and you're now at the bottom of a lake. Funny, isn't it? But that's just how the mechanics of hard work operate. You're not always going to nail that perfect shift from idle to full throttle. Sometimes you'll stall, sometimes you'll lurch forward unexpectedly, and yes, occasionally, you'll find yourself in a lake. But that doesn't mean you give up. No, you roll up your sleeves, grab a snorkel if necessary, and you keep trying. Because you see, hard work is just like those grinding gears. It's not always pretty or smooth, but it's necessary. It's the thing that propels you forward, that takes you from point A to point B. And yes, it can be a bit noisy and chaotic, but that's just a part of the process. So what do you do when you find yourself in a situation where your gears are grinding and you feel like you're stuck in neutral? You don't panic, you don't give up. You take a deep breath, you reassess the situation, and you try again. You keep your eye on the road, not on the rearview mirror. Because the only way you're going to get where you want to go is by moving forward, not backward. And remember, it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to grind your gears a little, because that's how you learn. That's how you improve. And that's how you get better at navigating this crazy, bumpy road we call life. So the next time your life feels like a car with grinding gears, remember, it might be a bumpy ride, but at least you're moving forward. So, we've talked a lot about the grind, but the real question is, does the grind ever stop? Now, if we lived in a world where the grind didn't pause, it would be like having a coffee maker that never stops brewing. Picture this. A world where everyone is constantly caffeinated, buzzing around like bees on a sugar rush. Sounds absurd, right? That's because it is. Just as your coffee maker needs a breather after brewing that perfect cup, so do you after a long day of grinding. Sure, hard work is crucial. It's the grindstone that sharpens the blade, the fuel that propels the rocket. But remember, even rockets need time to cool down, and even blades need time to be polished. So, while the grind is important, it's equally vital to know when to step away, take a deep breath, and relax. Because let's be honest, no one wants to live in a world where the coffee maker never stops brewing. It's all about balance, folks. The grind and the rest, they're two sides of the same coin. So remember folks, the grind is important, but so is knowing when to take a coffee break. Well folks, it's been a grind, but all good things must come to an end. We've talked about the daily grind, the grindstone of life, the mechanics of hard work, and questioned if the grind ever really stops. Now it's time to grind to a halt, much like a dancing robot that suddenly stopped because its batteries ran out. You see, life is a bit like that robot. Sometimes we're on a roll, dancing and twirling with energy, and other times we need to recharge. It's a humorous thought, but it's also deeply true. And that's the beauty of the grind. It isn't about endlessly pushing forward, but knowing when to pause, recharge, and maybe do a little robot dance of your own. So whether you're a coffee bean, a gear, or a dancing robot, remember, the grind is part of life. But so is knowing when to stop. And speaking of stopping, it's time to wrap up this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below what other videos you'd like to see. Until next time, keep grinding.